Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about speaking life into your day before your day even begins. Every morning you wake up is a reminder that you have a purpose, that God has breathed life into you again, not by accident, but on purpose. You were created to live defeated, discouraged, or distracted. You were created to rise up and conquer every challenge, to shine even in dark places, to be a light in your family, in your workplace, in this world. Sometimes the noise of life gets so loud, we forget who we are. We forget the power we carry. We start believing what people say about us more than what God says. But friend, let me remind you, you are chosen, you are equipped, you are enough. Don't start your day scrolling through fear, comparison, and chaos. Start your day declaring what's already true about you. I am strong, I am blessed, I am favored, I am more than a conqueror. What you listen to every day becomes the story you believe. So speak victory, play hope, play peace, play truth. Don't just hear the news, hear the promise. Don't just listen to noise, listen to truth that sets you free. The enemy wants to drown your hope, but heaven wants to fill your soul. Choose today to feed your faith, not your fears. So, if no one told you today, let me be the first. You are loved. You are valuable. You are going to make it. Great things are in front of you, not behind you. When you listen to the right things every day, your heart gets stronger, your mind gets clearer, and your spirit begins to soar. What you hear consistently shapes what you believe. It's not just a saying, it's a spiritual principle, a life truth, and a psychological law. What enters your ears daily doesn't just pass through, it sinks deep, it takes root. It begins to frame the way you see yourself, the way you see your future, and even the way you see God. This is why it matters so much what you're feeding your soul, what voices you're allowing to speak into your day, and what messages you're rehearsing in your mind. If all you ever hear is that you're not good enough, if the only voices around you say you can't, you won't, and you never will, you'll start to believe it, even if it's not true. Even if you've got the talent, the favor, the calling, even if heaven itself has said you're blessed, you'll still walk like you're cursed. You'll still think like you're stuck, simply because the soundtrack in your mind is playing defeat. But the good news is, you don't have to let those voices have the final say. You don't have to let negative noise become your personal truth. You can change what you're hearing. You can fill your atmosphere with faith. You can choose to listen to words that build you up, not break you down. Because when you hear something long enough, your heart starts to lean in, your mind starts to agree, and your actions start to follow. That's why this principle is so powerful, why the enemy loves to use it against you. He doesn't always have to destroy your life outright. Sometimes all he has to do is whisper small lies in your ears long enough until you start living like they're true. He tells you you're alone and you start isolating. He tells you you'll never heal and you stop hoping. He tells you it's too late and you give up try. Starts with a voice and it ends with a belief. But here's what's even more powerful. The same way that negative words can pull you down, positive, faithful truth can lift you up. When you consistently hear that you're chosen, that you're loved, that God has plans for you, not just once, not just occasionally, but over and over, your spirit begins to rise. That voice of truth starts to silence the lies of the past. You begin to walk different, think different, expect different, not because your situation changed, but because your belief changed. When you fill your ears with truth, your inner world becomes stronger than the outer world. You stop reacting to pressure and start responding with purpose. You stop echoing fear and start speaking with confidence. And you don't have to wait until things are perfect to do it. You can begin right now, right where you are. by deciding to be intentional with what you allow into your atmosphere. Think about it. Music has power. Voices have power. Words have power. That's why what you hear in the morning can affect how you feel all day. One encouraging message can carry you through a tough moment. One word from God can change the entire direction of your thinking. And that's why it's so important to choose wisely. Don't just let the world tell you who you are. Don't let fear be your playlist. Don't let doubt be the voice that tucks you in at night. Every single day is an opportunity to feed your belief system the right message. Not just on Sundays, not just when you're struggling, but every day. Because if you can hear truth consistently, you'll start to believe consistently. And when your belief shifts, your life shifts. You'll start to dream again. You'll start to expect again. You'll stop bracing for the worst and start preparing for the best. So be intentional. Choose to listen to life-giving words. Play encouragement in your car. Put hope in your headphones. Let truth echo in your home. Because what you hear consistently becomes what you believe, and what you believe determines what kind of life you live. Start your day speaking life, not listening to fear. That simple decision can change everything. The first few moments of your day are some of the most powerful. They set the tone. They steer your thoughts. They shape your energy and outlook. What you allow into your heart first thing in the morning has the power to either fill you with courage or drain you with anxiety. It's not just about avoiding negativity. It's about actively choosing life-giving words that strengthen your soul before the noise of the world gets a chance to weaken it. Every morning, when you open your eyes, you step into a battlefield of the mind. Fear wants to meet you at the door. Doubt wants to be your first conversation. Insecurity wants to sit at your breakfast table. But you don't have to invite those voices in. You can speak over them. You can override them. You can choose to speak truth, peace, faith, and life before fear even has a chance to speak a word. So many people wake up and the first thing they do is scroll through headlines filled with bad news, scroll through social media filled with comparison, scroll through notifications that carry stress. Before they've even taken their first deep breath, they've already absorbed fear. They've already welcomed anxiety. They've already started believing lies that tell them they're behind, they're not enough, or something bad is coming. No wonder so many people start their days feeling heavy. But it doesn't have to be that way. You have the power to choose a different morning narrative. You can wake up and say, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." You can start your day declaring, "I am blessed, I am focused, I am healthy, I am strong, I am equipped, I am loved." Those words may sound simple, but they carry power. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And when you speak life, you're not just making noise, you're planting seeds of victory, peace, and confidence in your spirit. The more you practice speaking life at the start of your day, the more natural it becomes. You'll find yourself waking up with a sense of purpose instead of panic. You'll begin to expect good things instead of dreading the worst. And you'll notice that fear loses its grip when faith fills the room. Speaking life is not denying the reality of your problems. It's declaring the greater reality of your promise. It's choosing to say, yes, there may be challenges today, but I'm not facing them alone. I'm not unprepared. I'm not powerless. I'm walking into this day with grace, with strength, with favor surrounding me. Sometimes people wait until everything is perfect before they start speaking life. They think when the stress is gone, then I'll be positive. When things work out, then I'll be hopeful. But it works the other way around. You speak life first, and then peace begins to rise. You declare victory before the breakthrough shows up. That's what faith does. It doesn't wait for the evidence. It creates the atmosphere. Fear will always try to get the first word. It will show up early. But when you've made up your mind to speak life every morning, fear loses its position. It gets pushed out by confidence. It gets crowded out by hope. It gets silenced by truth. You don't have to have a perfect speech prepared every day. You just need to start somewhere. Even a simple, heartfelt declaration like, today is going to be a good day, is enough to shift your perspective and open your spirit to greater possibilities. There's something powerful about your own voice speaking truth into your life. It's one thing to hear encouragement from others, but it's another thing entirely to become your own orator. To rise up every morning and say, I'm not going to be ruled by fear today. I'm not going to let anxiety have its way. I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing strength. I'm choosing to believe that something good is going to happen. Start your day speaking life and watch how your days begin to change. Watch how peace begins to grow. Watch how confidence rises. Watch how fear loses its power. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You just need the right words in your mouth and the right attitude in your heart. And it starts with a simple but powerful decision. Before you do anything else, speak life. Affirm your identity in God daily. It's not just a practice, it's a lifeline. It's a spiritual anchor in a world that's constantly trying to redefine who you are. Every day, life throws labels at you. People project their opinions. Circumstances speak loudly. Failures try to name you, and fear tries to shape you. But none of that holds authority over who you are in the eyes of your Creator. And unless you remind yourself of that daily, you'll start to live from a false version of yourself. You'll start to act like the person others say you are instead of walking confidently in who God already called you to be. When you affirm your identity in God, you're not trying to become something you're not. You're simply agreeing with who you've already been created to be. You are chosen, not by accident, but with intention. You are loved, not because of what you do, but because of who He is. You are seen, not overlooked or forgotten. You are equipped, not because of your qualifications, but because of your connection. In every single morning, you need to remind your soul of that truth. The world is loud, the enemy is subtle, and the lies can be convincing. That's why affirming your identity isn't a once-in-a-while moment. It has to be a daily declaration. You don't wait for the world to tell you who you are. You wake up and tell the world who God says you are. You look in the mirror and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am the head and not the tail. I am a child of the Most High God. Even when you don't feel it, speak it. Even when doubt creeps in, declare it. Even when circumstances contradict it, stand on it. Because your identity is not rooted in your feelings, your performance, or your past. It's rooted in truth. It's rooted in a word that doesn't change. You may feel weak, but you are strong. You may feel overlooked, but you are appointed. You may feel broken, but you are being restored. So many people go through life feeling unsure of who they are. They search for validation in relationships, careers, achievements, likes, and titles, never realizing they already carry the greatest validation of all. They are sons and daughters of the King. When you start your day from that place, everything else shifts. You stop striving to be accepted because you already are. You stop chasing worth because you already have it. You stop comparing yourself to others because you understand that your lane was made just for you. Affirming your identity daily also gives you stability. Life will try to shake you. Rejection will try to define you. Mistakes will try to mark you. But when you know who you are, those things lose their grip. A secure identity can stand in the storm. A rooted identity doesn't get tossed by every opinion. When you're anchored in God's truth about you, you can face criticism without crumbling. You can experience failure without losing faith. And you can walk through dark places without forgetting the light inside you. It's not about puffing yourself up. It's about reminding your spirit of what heaven already declared. It's not about arrogance. It's about agreement. There is power in agreement. When your words line up with God's word, something activates in the atmosphere around you. Peace enters the room. Strength rises. Clarity comes. That's why the enemy wants to distract you first thing in the morning. He wants you rushing, overwhelmed, reacting to the world before you've even remembered who you are. But when you pause, even for a minute, to affirm your identity, you shift the direction of your entire day. You weren't created to live from a place of confusion or insecurity. You were created to live with boldness, with clarity, with purpose. That begins when you remember who you are. So before the day demands your energy, before the voices of fear speak, before the enemy tries to whisper lies, declare the truth. I am who God says I am. I have what He says I have. I can do what He says I can do. You might not be where you want to be yet, but you are still chosen. You may have gone through seasons that made you question your worth, but God's hand never left you. And every single day you wake up is another opportunity to affirm that truth, to realign with your real identity, and to walk in the confidence of who you are in Him. Faith comes by hearing. That's not just a beautiful line from Scripture. It's a spiritual principle that determines the direction of your belief system. Faith doesn't just arrive in your life randomly. It's not something that drops out of the sky when you need it. Faith grows when it is fed. And the way you feed your faith is by what you consistently hear. What you allow into your ears will eventually settle into your heart. And what takes root in your heart will show up in how you think, how you speak, and how you live. You can't build a strong faith on weak words. You can't live a bold life if all you ever hear is fear, failure, and frustration. If you're constantly surrounded by doubt, if you constantly hear negativity, if your soundtrack is filled with worry and limitation, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to walk confidently in faith. That's why hearing the right words matters. That's why choosing what you listen to is not just a lifestyle choice. It's a spiritual discipline. Every day you are exposed to thousands of voices. Some speak life. Some speak fear. Some lift your spirit. Some drain your energy. Some encourage you to believe bigger. Others try to keep you small. The voices around you shape the voice within you. And the voice within you is the one that determines how you respond to life. If your inner dialogue is full of faith, you'll walk into challenges with confidence. But if your inner dialogue is filled with fear, you'll shrink back even when the path is clear. That's why you have to be intentional about what you're hearing. You don't just stumble into strong faith. You choose it and you build it daily. Hearing words of faith consistently rewires your perspective. It renews your mind. It realigns your emotions. The more you hear truth, the more you recognize lies. The more you hear hope, the more you resist despair. The more you hear that God is for you, the less power fear has over you. Faith doesn't grow in silence. It grows through sound. Not just any sound, but the sound of truth, the sound of Scripture, the sound of encouragement, the sound of life-giving declarations that say, I can do all things through Christ. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. When you hear those words enough, they stop being distant promises and start becoming personal truths. They go from being ideas in a book to being the voice that carries you through your hardest moments. You may not realize it, but every time you press play on a message of faith, you're feeding your spirit. Every time you listen to a song that speaks truth, you're building your belief. Every time you hear someone declare God's promises, your inner man gets stronger. And you may not feel it immediately. You may not see the change overnight, but over time, that consistent hearing begins to produce a powerful harvest of faith in your life. That's why the enemy doesn't just want to tempt you, he wants to distract you. If he can keep you too busy, too scattered, too discouraged to listen to the right things, he can keep your faith weak, because a distracted mind rarely feeds on truth. And a faith that isn't fed will eventually starve. But the good news is you have a choice. You can tune out the noise and tune into truth. You can create an environment that builds faith instead of draining it. It doesn't mean you'll never hear doubt again. It doesn't mean fear won't try to speak. But when faith is stronger, fear gets quieter. When you've heard enough truth, lies start to sound foreign. When you've been filled with the Word, the world doesn't sway you as easily. That's the power of hearing the right things. It prepares you before the battle even begins. So don't wait until you're in crisis to hear truth. Don't wait until the storm hits to start building your faith. Make it a daily rhythm. Make it a lifestyle. Let your ears be the gateway to your breakthrough. Let your hearing be the fuel to your believing. Faith doesn't come by wishing. It doesn't come by hoping. Faith comes by hearing. So listen to truth, hear life, play hope, speak promises, and do it daily. Because the more you hear it, the more you believe it. And the more you believe it, the more you'll live it. Consistency reprograms your mind. That's the secret a lot of people overlook when they're waiting for change. They want the transformation. They pray for the breakthrough. They hope for the mindset shift. But it's consistency that builds the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. You don't change your life with one powerful moment. You change your life by doing the right things day after day, even when it doesn't feel like anything is changing at all. Your mind is like a garden. What you plant in it regularly will grow. If you only water it once a month with positive thoughts, but every day it's filled with fear, doubt, and negativity, you can't expect the harvest of peace and confidence. That's why consistency is so important. Every time you declare truth, you're planting. Every time you resist fear and choose faith, you're watering. Every time you speak life instead of defeat, you're tending the soil. And over time, your mind begins to transform. You start to think differently. You start to see differently. You start to respond differently. But here's the thing. Consistency isn't always exciting. It's not always glamorous. It doesn't always feel powerful in the moment. It often feels repetitive. It feels small. It feels like you're doing the same thing over and over again without seeing results. But don't let the lack of immediate evidence fool you. Something is happening beneath the surface. Just like a sea breaking open underground, your consistency is triggering a process you can't see yet. And if you stay with it, that process will produce a harvest. Your mind has been shaped by years of messages, some good, some damaging. Maybe you've been told you're not enough. Maybe you believe that success isn't for people like you. Maybe your thoughts are filled with fear because that's what was modeled for you growing up. You didn't arrive at that mindset overnight, and you won't break out of it overnight either. But with consistency, you can rewrite the narrative. You can undo the programming. You can teach your mind a new language of faith, boldness, hope, and identity. That's why it matters what you do daily. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to feel on fire every day. You just have to keep showing up. Keep feeding your mind truth. Keep aligning your thoughts with God's promises. Keep rejecting the lies, even when they feel familiar. Because every time you choose truth over fear, even when it's hard, you're gaining ground. You're breaking patterns. You're creating new pathways in your thinking. People often underestimate the power of repetition. But repetition is how habits are formed, is how beliefs are reinforced, is how change becomes permanent. When you consistently hear that you are loved, you start to believe it. When you consistently declare that you are equipped, you begin to walk in it. When you consistently speak favor over your life, you start to expect it. That's not just motivation, it's transformation. And it's available to anyone willing to be consistent, even when it's not easy. Some days you won't feel like affirming truth. Some days the battle in your mind will be intense. Some days it'll seem easier to go back to old ways of thinking. But those are the days when your consistency matters the most. Because it's in those moments of resistance the growth is happening. It's when your feelings say one thing, but your discipline says another. That's when you know your mind is being reprogrammed. You're no longer reacting from your past. You're living from your renewed identity. You can't always control what thoughts come, but you can control what stays. You get to choose what plays on repeat. You get to decide what voices have influence. And when you make the choice daily, intentionally, faithfully to feed your mind the right words, you're creating momentum that no setback can stop. So if it feels slow, keep going. If it feels hard, keep showing up. If you're not seeing the results yet, trust the process, because consistency is doing the work even when you don't see the fruit, knowing that the fruit is still coming. Your breakthrough may not be loud, but it's being built, one faithful choice at a time. Consistency reprograms your mind. That's how you step out of survival mode and into purpose. That's how you start living from insecurity and start living from identity. And that's how you begin to experience the life God always intended for you. Not just on the outside, but from the inside out. Repetition creates spiritual muscle memory, just like in the physical realm, where athletes train their bodies through consistent motion. Your spirit also gets stronger through repeated spiritual practice. When you do something enough times, it becomes part of your rhythm. It becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it, you just do it. And that's what repetition does to your spiritual life. It wires strength into your soul. It builds faith into your response. It teaches you how to stand firm when everything around you is shifting. You don't learn how to trust God overnight. You don't develop peace under pressure just by hearing a message once. It's the repetition that trains your spirit. It's the day-by-day showing up, the praying when you don't feel like it, the declaring when doubt is loud, the worship when the weight is heavy. That's what builds your spiritual muscle. And over time, what once felt foreign starts to feel familiar. What once felt difficult becomes natural. That's spiritual muscle memory. You see, life doesn't always give you time to prepare when a storm hits. You won't always get a heads up when challenges come. That's why repetition matters. It prepares you before the pressure shows up. It roots you in truth so that when the winds of fear blow, you don't get knocked over. You've already trained for this. You've already declared truth so many times that now it rises up without hesitation. You've already filled your spirit with God's promises so often that even when life shakes you, the word still comes out of you. When you go to the gym, you don't lift weights one time and expect to be strong for life. No, you train consistently. You practice form. You build endurance. And it's the same spiritually. Every time you declare God's promises, you're lifting. Every time you speak against fear, you're getting stronger. Every time you choose to believe, even in the dark, you're building endurance. And one day you'll find yourself in a situation that used to rattle you, and instead of crumbling, you'll stand strong. Why? Because you've trained for it. You've repeated truth so many times. Now it's your automatic response. The enemy isn't afraid of someone who hears truth once. He's intimidated by the believer who practices truth daily. The one who doesn't just talk about faith, but has built it through repetition. The one who has been through the fire and still chooses to declare God's goodness. That's a person who's trained. That's a person who's unshakable. And you don't get there through hype. You get there through habits. You get there by repeating the right thing over and over again until your spirit knows what to do before your mind has a chance to panic. Some days it might feel mechanical. Some days you'll say the words and not feel a thing. But don't underestimate the power of what's happening under the surface. Just like muscle tissue breaks and rebuilds to grow stronger, your spirit is being conditioned through every repetition. Your emotions may not feel it yet, but your spirit is catching it. Your default reaction is being rewired. Your inner strength is being fortified. And here's the beauty of spiritual muscle memory. It doesn't just work for you, it works through you. As you grow stronger, you begin to carry others. You speak peace into their chaos. You lead with calm when others are in panic. You become a source of strength because you've trained in private. What you've repeated in your quiet time becomes evident in your loud seasons. That's what makes a difference. That's what shines in the dark. That's what people notice. Not perfection, but practiced faith. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the most experienced. But if you are consistent in your repetition, if you keep declaring, keep praying, keep trusting, you will walk in a strength that is unexplainable. You will operate in a peace that surpasses understanding. And when people ask how you're still standing, you'll smile. Because you know it didn't happen by accident. It happened through repetition. It happened through faithful practice. It happened because you trained your spirit when no one was watching. Oh, keep going. Keep doing the right thing, even when it feels small. Keep showing up to your quiet time, your declarations, your worship moments, because repetition creates strength. Repetition creates memory. Repetition builds a response in you that isn't moved by circumstances, but anchored in truth. And when life tries to shake you, you'll find that your spirit already knows what to do because you've trained for this. You see, the key to living a life of victory isn't found in doing one big thing once. It's found in doing the right small things consistently. Every day, you're shaping your future by what you hear, what you say, what you believe. You're building spiritual stamina. You're reprogramming your mind. You're creating a foundation that storms can't shake, that delays can't destroy, and that fear can't silence. Faith isn't built on feelings. It's built on repetition. It's built on hearing the truth again and again until it takes root, until it drowns out the lies, until it becomes the loudest voice in the room. When you make it a habit to listen to life-giving words daily, you're not just encouraging your soul, you're preparing for your destiny. You're declaring to the enemy, I know who I am, I know whose I am, and I know where I'm going. Maybe you've gone through some dark seasons. Maybe you've been told you're not enough. Maybe your thoughts have been clouded by doubt and fear. But today, you get to choose what you listen to. You get to choose what takes residence in your spirit. You get to fill your atmosphere with words that remind you, you are called. You are chosen. You are anointed. You are not behind. You're right on time for what God is doing in your life. So listen to this every day, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Let these words get deep into your spirit. Let them fuel your faith. Let them remind you that your story isn't over. Your best days aren't behind you. And the same God who brought you this far isn't finished yet. Keep showing up. Keep declaring truth. Keep trusting the process. Because every time you do, you're getting stronger. You're getting clearer. You're getting closer. And one day you'll look back and realize it wasn't the big moments that changed your life. It was the decision to listen to the right things every single day that transformed everything.